Welcome to The Odd Show, where the G is silent and represents a God who is sometimes difficult to see in the world that we live in. Join the discussion as we try to figure out how to live as Christians in that place of tension created by a world that doesn't quite get us and a church that often reacts rather than acting out of compassion. Now, here's your hosts, Bruce Pagano and Thomas Hogan.
Welcome to The Odd Show.
Yeah, hey, welcome to the show. Hey, Thomas beat me to the punch there because I was trying to figure out, like, we got some stuff at the front end that's kind of GCC oriented stuff that we recorded in pre-show, and it's going to go in here somewhere, and maybe. So I was trying to figure out, like, where does this go? Where does this go in? Do I put
It should abruptly cut into like the conversation just back and forth.
I put into the
No one knows what's going on.
Like,
why are they skipping around so much?
Man, their last episode was so good.
I'm sure a lot of people are saying that.
With every episode we make, the the thing that's remained constant is their last episode was so good.
Yep, every episode's better than the next. That's what you got to look forward to.
No, every previous episode is better than the next.
Which makes me fearful for the next episode, for this next episode after this one.
It's all downhill from here, folks. It's all downhill. We had a whole summer full of me not working to just mess this up.
You can probably do a lot more stuff then.
Oh man,
there's some crazy stuff out there.
So we'll probably cut it in here.
I don't know how this is going to play out or what topic's going to come out of it. We have a lot of friends, or and not even friends, just people we've met in the last 6 months or so that are going through like crazy relationship problems. And I know we already we did marriage, we did.
So do we, man. Like,
but it is an awkward time for us as. And I don't want to come off. There's a certain way I don't want to come off. Like, me and my wife have sat down and clearly put the boundaries of what our relationship is, and like, hey, we don't talk about divorce in a flippant way. We don't make threats to each other. Not even about divorce. We don't make threats to each other. Like, we're united. We're a team, and our way forward is together.
Right.
That's it. Like, and that's kind of settled. That's not even up for debate, really, or up for like grabs,
Right.
And then we meet these people, some of them Christian, some of them not, and they are just in turmoil because they are not on the same page or the same direction at all. And we're like,
so we've talked about
what kind of discipleship are these families, these people, these couples getting that they're so far off? It makes no sense to me.
So we've talked about unity, like when we did our odd couple.
Pursuing
when
unity.
You and I did it, like, we talked about pursuing unity. But I mean, so we were at the farmers market the other day, and there happened to be this booth that was a legal coach booth. Like, she's like not a lawyer, but she's a paralegal or whatever, and she'll kind of coach you through the legal, and
right, like LegalZoom.com,
or it's kind of and we took multiple cards because we were like, we have friends that need this right now, like more than one, more than two. We have a number of friends that may need your services. And I am so sad that that's the case. Like,
and so me and my wife are trying to talk about what to do about it, because we're like, I'm not going to go sit down with every one of these couples and be like, hey, did he visit your house last week? Because he was at our house. Anyway, I don't want that to happen. Right. So we're like, how do we do a marriage retreat without it being a marriage retreat?
Right.
How do we get some of our friends together and like get down to the heart, especially like not all of them are Christians, but the few of them are Christians, and we're like, what are you doing? Like, how do you not relate your witness to Christ and the power of his resurrection in your dead relationship? How do you not see the direct correlation between those two things?
What do you want to talk about that? Or
I do, but I don't. Like, is there something we could talk about that's like that I can bring that up, and that can be a small part of it? Talk about relationships, building, putting relationships at the forefront of your effort, whatever it looks like, whether it's church ministry or GCC or whatever, and how you're pursuing relationships. Me and my wife had a really confrontational discussion with me about relationships like 2 or 3 days ago because I don't have a lot of friends here. I have good people around me that I like and I get
Right.
along with, but I don't have anybody to spend a lot of time with and to co-disciple or um, grow with. And so she's like, uh, sometimes you have to pursue relationship, and I'm like, I already know that. Don't use my words on me, woman. However, I was making the I was trying to be flippant and make the point and not feel bad about myself. Uh, so I was, all that stuff, and so I told her, women are pursued, men pursue, and that was dumb. Don't say stupid stuff like that.
I'm gonna put that on the intro.
Yeah, don't say, women are pursued, men pursue. So I don't know how I'm going to pursue. Like there's a certain part of being a man that you know there's a certain amount of boldness that's kind of needed to, and not even boldness, but self assurity. And I
Right.
don't know if it's our society or whatever is going on, but like there's some people don't have that, right? So if I'm like
They
overly,
got they got it enough to wear a freaking romper.
yeah, I guess that's a thing too now. And the lace, I don't know if you've seen the lace shorts, but even
Yeah, I
better.
don't even want to talk about
Get into it. But so there's this but it really confronted me where I'm at. I probably should be pursuing relationship better. Like not that I haven't pursued it at all, but
that. Okay,
I probably need to tweak
so
some stuff there.
let me intro. Let me just do intro real quick, and then let's talk about that. Like how can you be about how can you be about how do you miss the cart or how do you miss the forest for the trees um, when you can be about GCC and then get and you don't have to do it this way, but then get called out on not actually pursuing a relationship, which is the
Yeah.
basis for
yeah, yeah.
GCC. Like it's
Yeah, it's
the
relational.
basis,
You need to be relational.
right?
Relational
So you want
living.
to talk about that? You want to talk about
Sure,
how,
sure. We'll get into
and then
that.
you can be real about how messed up you are.
Yeah, you should. That should definitely go in the intro. I just need to be more upfront about how messed up I am.
All
That's
right.
the problem. Well,
Okay.
that was some really good conversation. Now on to the next
Anyway,
thing.
but so like our actual topic though is you you intro it.
You want me to intro this?
Yeah, because
We're gonna talk
your
about
wife called you out in on
yeah,
your
yeah.
wife called you out on it.
We're gonna talk about relationship and not we've done spouse relationships. I don't know, like 4 times now. I mean, basically, we've made people as expert spousal relationship talk experts in it as we have the
Oh,
racial discussion.
like us, like we've pretended to be experts in relationships and
And
talked
yeah,
about
and spousal relationships and racism, which we've fixed most of those things.
right.
So now we're going
So
to
I'm
talk about
still not clear why we have
actual,
racial issues and people getting divorced.
very confusing to me. I don't
So,
know. I think it might have something to do with the viewership. I don't know if enough people have watched the episodes to
uh,
know that these
hmm.
problems are actually taken care of.
If only the 3 people that watch would share that episode,
That's what
then at least 6 people would know
these 6 people would know that racism is solved.
it's
Um,
over.
no, I want to talk about building relationships. So
Which we've
off the
already
cuff,
said is the basis for
yeah, building relationships. You can't have
the gospel
community.
in general, but
Yeah,
community, right? I mean,
yeah,
like,
you can't have community without building relationships, and they don't happen. It's not like you're going to build community and therefore get relationships. It's not going to work that way. You're going to have to build relationships to get community.
so community is built out of
Yeah,
relationships.
it's built out of serious relationship, and so we have, in my estimation, in my model, in my view of how things work, kind of, it's a 2 to 3 year investment in people's lives before you see the return of what community is.
Right,
Right. So you might have versions or kind of evolving organism of community before that, but
right,
it's a 2 to 3 year investment in people's lives before not only do they trust you, but does the soil become fertile? That you begin to grow intimately, right? And so that's the educated part of it, right? That's the
right.
thought. That's the
Well, theory,
the theological. Yeah, that's the theological
everything's easy
framework.
in theory, right?
Right,
Like you
right.
can lay theory down.
That's the theological framework of community. Now, the way it plays out, though, so I get called, like you said, my wife called me out um, because I don't have a lot of friends here in Utah. Not that I don't have any friendships at
Relationships,
all, right? I don't have
right?
meaningful relationships with people. I have like I know people, we talk, and I'm friendly, and they're friendly, and we even
You, s-
talk about important, good important things. But when it comes to like meaningful growth relationships, I just don't have those. And my wife, and I'm like, we'll pray about it and we talk about it. And my wife was like, well, I'm a little worried or concerned about it. And this was like 2, maybe 3 days ago. She's like, I'm concerned that you don't have any friends here. And I'm like, it's not like I'm being mean to people. I'm not pushing people away.
right?
And so my wife brought up that I probably should pursue relationship. And I flippantly told her, because I don't like being confronted with my anything actually. Just I don't like it doesn't matter what the thing is. I don't like being confronted. I don't like being confronted blatantly with maybe and my faults. Right. I
Right,
like people to be very tender and beat around the bush. Like actually,
right,
just don't even say it. Just like beat so far around the bush that you don't even say
right,
it.
right.
But my
They
wife
come,
was
yeah,
like, yeah, it's a good thing. And so she told me that I should pursue that I haven't pursued relationships with other people since we've been here because I have good relationships with my other friends, like my
right,
friends that don't even live anywhere near me. I have
right.
a really good relationship with them, and a working relationship where we kind of focus on certain things together. But she was right. I
Hey,
mean,
you tell your wife that you don't need any other friends. All right, stuff.
don't ask me about my business, Vanessa.
Uh,
What I tell you about asking about my business? No, she was right. I mean, she called me out, and for what it's worth, I mean, I have not invested in building relationships. I've invested in um, getting to know people, connecting with people, and even like on their terms, not on like, hey, do my thing, but like, hey,
right,
how can we be a part of each other's
right.
lives in a very, I would say, a very superficial way. And so that's the topic I want to talk about. What does it look like? What does it mean to pursue relationship and build relationships that are geared toward or for community? So I want to hear
Right.
your thoughts before I get into my faults.
So, hey, I think you're perfect just the way you are. All right.
You and Christina both.
Who's Christina? Um, I'm not jealous. I'm not jealous.
Sure.
Um, anyway, so so I made this thing that I don't even want to call it a process, but it's kind of like this roadmap that I call the walk, right?
Right.
Um,
I
and
think
and
I
and
call
it's
those the best laid plans.
right. And it's built around the thing that we so many years ago talked about connection, community, and challenge, or connection, challenge, and community. And I just kind of tweaked it a little bit and tweaked it to connection, challenge, and cultivation. And um, and like that connection piece, the gathering around shared things, shared values, shared interests, like gathering together is easy. Like that's easy stuff.
Yeah, that's why I do it.
Right. Like I mean, honestly, like that's
Yeah,
like
that's why I do it. It's super
man,
easy.
yeah.
And
Um,
it has the appearance of relationship. Other people will be
right.
like, look,
It absolutely does.
all the
I
people
mean,
he's
like
connected to.
I would say most of the relationships that we have in everyday society are connection. Like
Yeah, accurate.
without any not even in a biblical sense, just it's just connection. But when we start talking about building Christian community, gospel centered community, and we start looking at our connections, and we start trying to move them into the biblical realm, um, it becomes a little bit more difficult just because there's like because you're approaching things from this gospel mindset, but it's still easy. It's still you're still just gathering together around things that you enjoy that are similar, like values that you share, um, and it's the moving into that challenge piece um, where you're attempting to seek things together, and where you're attempting to submit and challenge each other, in those areas that will grow you together, in relationship with each other, and ultimately in relationship with the group that you're with. um, that becomes far more difficult. But I mean, like, challenge is challenge, right? Like, what? So for me, I'm like, I would say, oh, somebody in a group that I'm in on Facebook, just this closed men's group. Um, One of the guys asked, like, "Hey, how many of you guys out there actually have friends that you could go to right now if you needed to go to them for something?" Um, and man, so many of them were like zero, zero, zero,
Oh, yeah,
one, like,
harsh.
a couple were like, and the guy was talking about, like, that live near you, not that you could
Right,
call
right.
that, like, that's states
Yeah,
away, but
somebody that mentored you back in 1996.
right, yeah, but like, not even like, they weren't even talking about me and you, like we're
No, they were
just
talking
far
about somebody you can reach out
hours
to.
apart. But somebody in my town that I could go to and be like, man, I'm really, and so many guys were like, I think I was able to say, um, that I think I have two, probably three here that I think I'm close enough to, and that's not even because I've tried to invest anything currently. Well, no, that's not true. Kyle's one of them.
Yeah,
Like,
Kyle's legit, man.
I've known Kyle
We love
for
Kyle.
7 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, that's a built relationship, and he just happened to move here. Like,
Yeah, you just
so,
got lucky that way.
yeah, I just got lucky. And the other ones, this guy, well, the pastor of the church we attend, Adam, like, I really care about this guy and the group of guys that we meet with. But out of that group, I think Adam, I could call Adam up. We're investing in relationship with each other, and I could call him up. So we're kind of entering the challenge phase
Got it.
of that relationship, and it's hard to know where it is. But so many guys, and not just guys, girls, because Sarah, um, that's been one of Sarah's biggest complaints. Not complaints, even since Japan. Like, so Sarah's super introverted, and I'm a pretty outgoing person. I'm a pretty extroverted person, so, like, I don't mind being the center of attention when I walk into a room. Uh, but Sarah does not. She's super introverted. And she made some very real attempts when we moved to Japan to reach out to people and pursue relationships, and try and build relationships with people. And that 2 years we were there stretched her. So when we got to DC, like, she was exhausted from 2 years of kind of stretching outside of this extroverted personality that she had, or that she has, and or this introverted personality she has. Um, and it just made her tired, and she needed to rest. So I think that was part of DC, like, part of why DC was, maybe not what we thought it might be. And then,
Mhm.
and also it's the city, and she hated it. But
Right,
and then
right.
we
Well, it is one of the largest cities, I would
and
say.
then we moved to Boise, and she's like, she said it a number of times since the last year and a half that we've been here. She's just like, man, I'm just tired of pursuing people to no end. Um, and and I don't have the answer for that. Like, I don't know what that looks like. Where she's like, man, I'm trying to make friends, and I'm trying to have, deep relationships, and it just doesn't seem like they want it, or they need it, or that, like, they're interested, and
Yeah.
and
No,
it
I think
sucks, and
I think
I
you're I
hate
think
it.
you're touching on for me, I think you're touching on like probably where my heart is. So I see the daily lives of a lot of these people that I know, and I see the lack of depth there, and that really concerns me, like wanting to try to invest and pursue a
Right,
deeper relationship, a more meaningful. And we have this open house thing going on, right? Where
right,
anybody comes in our home, anybody's welcome here. people just show up out of the blue most of the day. Most days, people like there's one or two people who just show random people who will just show up and be like, "Hey, we heard, or can we, or this girl came into our house last week bawling her eyes out because this thing had happened, and nothing like traumatic in my opinion, but like
Right.
something hurtful or harmful to her, and she just asked for prayer, and so my wife, I prayed with her for like a second, and then my wife came over and prayed with her, and like we were in the middle of another conversation with somebody else that showed up at our house. So um that kind of stuff, like we have that openness here, but
Right.
when I look at the shallow, I don't want to say shallowness, but like the unwillingness, or the maybe, and I think it's probably me, not those people.
Right.
It's probably my perception more than it is those people not wanting to go deeper. But I just don't see anybody wanting to go deeper, and so
Right.
it to a certain extent, I feel like I've probably not pursued relationship because of that. Like I'm like, well, and I don't know what the answer is. Like maybe maybe it's better to have some shallowness, or some relationship in any capacity, that can grow into something. Like to cut it off and say I'm not even going to do that, because why would I want to set myself up like that? I don't want to pursue relationship
Right.
with people for a year or 2 years, 3 years, only to not grow at all. Like I'd rather.
Right.
I think it's selfishness on my part that I don't want to. I don't want to see what that looks like, because I don't know. Like maybe depth for them is going to be something different than for me, and like
Man,
we can challenge each other for that. I don't know.
actually, that's a really good point. Like, I didn't even think about that. Like the potential for interpreting depth differently.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, talking
Um,
about God for some people is deep
so
at all.
right.
Not like what He's
So it's deep.
challenging to you to,
Yeah.
and what the Holy
So
Spirit
it's deep for you
wants, and
isn't necessarily
obedience.
deep for them, or is beyond deep for them. Like you're reaching beyond something that they're capable of, or that they view as. Um, yeah, man. But even
So that's
yeah,
what I was just challenged by. I mean, my wife said it, and I thought, if we're going to talk about some real stuff, I feel like my frustrations in other people's view of community is already at like kind of tipping points most days. So
right,
beyond that, like community can happen, because like there's room in community for people to be shallow. That's okay.
right,
Like hopefully it coalesces and becomes something more, but there's room for that in that building time, right? In that time
right.
of growing and getting to know each other and opening each other's lives up. But in relationship, I probably have not viewed
But
it that way, or not viewed it that way. I've not made steps to put structure there, put a
right.
foundation of like, hey, let's start hanging out and let's talk about some stuff or whatever, and kind of see. I haven't put the effort into feeling people out, and presenting it as an idea, like, hey, how can we grow together and stuff. So like where
But at the
I
same
have done
time,
that with
though,
community.
like, and I know you probably, well, I think I know for a fact that you've experienced this, where like you explain this idea of community that's in your head to people, and you're like, man, like this is biblical. This is what Bible says, and like, um, this is, I think, what Jesus desires from us when it comes to abundant life, and they're like, yeah, man, like, oh man, that's so good. Like, I'm so
So
in.
in, yeah, so in.
And and then you're like, all right, let's do this. And they're like, I'm not gonna leave my house. Like, okay, let's do it at your house.
Ouch,
Yeah,
yeah,
like like I don't probably want people in my house as much as you're saying in your life. Like when you say in your life, like like what do you mean in your life? Because I didn't think that it was this. And then you're just like, man, like 2 weeks ago you were like, no, I'm on that. Um,
right.
and it makes me feel like, and not in a pompous way. I'm not saying this like I'm the only one that gets it, but it makes me feel like, man, people don't want community the same way that Sarah and I want community. Like they don't want, either they don't understand it the same way, or they just don't want it as bad as we do. Um, and at the end of the day, like it's just not happening. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, it's just not happening, and it's frustrating. And we're like, dang, man, like, um, so how do you pursue and cultivate these deep relationships? These actual meaningful relationships. Um, like at every turn there's I don't want to say rejection, but like every turn there's rejection, and it's like for no purpose, or it seems like for no purpose.
Right. So, I mean, I'm just going to tell you, after having that conversation, well, it was more of it was I don't even know how to say that. Other people don't have the relationship me and my wife do. Not that, not, not in a good way sometimes, but like, it was very much her just saying, this is the reality of the situation. You are not pursuing a relationship. Like, she's pursuing a relationship and frustrated that she's pursuing a relationship with several women here, where we're at, and it is a labor of love.
Right.
It is difficult, but it's also rewarding, but it's difficult. And so I've seen how she does it, and she's a woman, and they have like different, the antenna is different, it's wired different.
Right.
But I definitely have not put the effort into it, or the thought, and the I have not challenged myself in that area. I challenge myself in community to be okay with other people's faults, and to be welcoming no matter what, and to be hospitable. And I challenge myself with that stuff. I do not challenge myself in the arena of building relationship, and not and just talking about it with you back and forth has really kind of forced me now to be like, okay, how am I going to invest in people that may not want to be invested in
Right.
and may not show a return? Like, how do I continue? And out of that, I don't think that, because my wife has these multiple people in her life right now that she's kind of daily with, right? Because she's invested in building those relationships, and some of them Christian, some of them not. And out of that, even though she hasn't seen the full fruit of it, I think that she's expecting, or I don't even say expecting, she's hoping or praying that the Holy Spirit uses that relationship to grow something else, something beyond, something plant or whatever, right? I haven't done that. I have not gone out of my way to make myself available to other people,
Right.
and kind of really push myself into space for those people.
So do you
I've
think?
created a space for people, but I
So
haven't put myself in their space.
as you're talking, I keep thinking like, so I almost feel like that's shedding a light on probably one of the more difficult parts of leaving institutional church and trying to go into um, GCC, is that you're leaving this very consumeristic view, and um, the idea of return on investment is a part of that. And if I'm investing in something and there's no return on that, then it's a lost cause and it's not worth pursuing. And I'm not gonna dump resources into that. And I almost feel like maybe that's something that subconsciously has been carried into this GCC, where it's just like, well, if they're not going, like, so the return on investment in GCC is different than regular culture, and even different than, I think anyway, even different, or it should be anyway, even different than institutional church, um, where GCC, if GCC truly makes room for um, everybody and people that don't, that kind of want the shallower commitment, um, then return on investment looks differently, or maybe it doesn't even have a part in GCC. And I keep, like, as you're talking, I kept thinking, yeah, man, I don't want to pour into someone that might be, a lost cause, or like that's not going to. Is it making
Yeah,
sense? Because I feel like I'm
I
just
think
kind of
you're
rambling.
talking about. I think you're talking about. I don't want to. I don't think anybody's a lost cause, but I get what you
No,
mean.
not lost cause. I didn't mean that,
I
but
don't want to pour into somebody who is not going. It's not that I want to pour
to,
into them. It's that I already
if
have,
you're not
like,
going to receive it,
yeah, I already have a limited amount of time here, and I'm trying to be careful with the way I apply what we're doing here, because I know I have like a limited. I have a
but it
finite amount of time. I mean, I don't.
but it goes back. it kind of goes back to finding your people and like,
Right, right.
um, if like, what if the people that God has surrounded you with are those people um, that need all of everything that you can give them, whether you think they're receiving it or not,
Right.
um, for the time that you're there. Like what if the
So
3 years,
so
what if the 3 years that you have there is meant to pour into these people that you would normally view as not, um, that like as not getting anything out of it. So,
I
so
think that there's a worth. I mean, I doubt we're gonna solve it in this
right,
um, odd show,
sitting,
but I think that there's something we should probably do some writing and kind of delve deeper into what we would consider the economy of community.
right,
Like especially when you're talking about return on investment and stuff like that. Like there's definitely something to talk about there. I know just in having the conversation with you today, I'm really I'm really challenged to say relationship is more important than community in the sense that you can't have community without it. So
right. No,
so
yeah, it's totally
I definitely have been I don't know about selfish, but definitely prejudiced, like prejudging of people's potential. You know what I mean? Like
right,
I don't know anyone's real potential. I assume because of the way that they've chosen to live their lives and kind of the
or just interactions that you have with them.
ineffectual way they've kind of
Right,
embraced the gospel that they're not ready. But I mean, I wasn't ready for years and years. I wasn't, and somebody took the time to invest in me when I didn't show any sign of reciprocating that
right,
the gospel challenge to come to faith and trust Jesus fully and press into God and all that stuff. I mean, somebody invested in me when I didn't have that. So
right,
definitely being a little, I'm being a little silly probably when it comes to like the way I'm looking at it, just because the thing is for me, I want to say one of the big distractors is I have people, they're just not accessible all the time, right? I have
right,
people that I care about that care about me, that challenge me in my faith. But there's a very real part to living that's out in the public and in face to face with people that's probably where I need to be focusing more. Not that
right.
I don't focus too much on those other relationships, but I definitely use those other relationships as a oh well, I do have meaningful relationships in my life, so I don't have to. All my relationships don't have to be meaningful, but that's not an excuse to stay
Right.
to not pursue relationships. So I think that I mean I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to do it. I think that I'll probably talk to my wife a little bit more because she's. I mean, I made the joke that not joke. I flippantly told my wife that women are pursued and men pursue. I don't. I don't have to pursue another relationship with another guy.
I don't even know who you are right now.
But yeah, I kind of maybe you need to pursue the idea and purpose of relationship beyond you know uh,
Right.
what you think is other people are capable of or incapable of, and then God will sort it out. God will he'll grow what he wants to grow.
Makes sense. Hmm.
So yeah, you need relationship. You can't have community without relationship. So it's just a reality I'm dealing with right now.
You think?
Just kind of
Yeah. No, that's good. I was gonna say, do you think that the relationship or the way that you handle relationships closest to you that are currently closest to you reflect on your need to pursue other relationships? So, like, if you and Angie have this healthy relationship, is there a part of you that's like, I don't need necessary, and you said it kind of earlier, like your and Angie's marriage is good. You have close friends that you kind of brainstorm with. Like we talk constantly. You do stuff with Kurt. You talk to Kurt, there, Neil, and a couple other people that you just kind of bounce stuff off of. Like, is there that mentality? It's like, but I don't need that. Like, I can do community with these, and not that you're doing it consciously, but with these shallower relationships, like we can do this. We're not going to be here because that was one of the problems that we had in DC. I think that we never broke past was that we didn't know how temporary our time was going to be there, but we had a temporary mindset. So because we had a temporary mindset, like after I left, I realized, ah, man, like had I given myself more fully to the idea that we were going to be there and we were just
Oh, my
there,
phone
we
died.
just, what? You're there.
Again.
Hey, I still hear you. Are you there? Oh no. Okay. Well, Thomas's phone died. I don't know that he's going to be back. But maybe he will. Maybe he won't. And if he is, then we will. Anyway, I'll just wrap this up. So when we left DC, I had not. I realized finally after we left that I hadn't fully given myself to. We were there to build relationships and community, and it ultimately it affected our ability to do those things because we had a temporary mindset and subconsciously in my mind, because we were there just temporarily, it didn't building those relationships weren't wasn't a priority. So maybe when it comes to community and building relationships, a temporary mind, because Thomas and Angie are only be there for 3 or 4 more years, and that temporary mindset really, maybe it really does affect. So I don't know what you think. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We'd love to hear what you think. At the end of the day, I think Thomas said it earlier, I said it. At the end of the day, community is built on relationships. So without relationships, there is no community. And you can try to build this program. And I think that's where a lot of institutional churches miss the mark, is that they're building these programs and they're hoping that relationships will be built out of these communities. And they miss that community is built, or as community is built out of relationships, not the other way around. And not that it can't ever happen. I don't think that that's true. I have friendships and relationships um, that were built out of community, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not. Love to hear what you think, and you can do that by hitting us up on Twitter at odd_show, or on the website at theoddshow.com. Remember, there's a G in both of those. The G is silent. And that's it. Hopefully, we get Thomas back. Probably not before this airs on Thursday, but that's okay. We were pretty much wrapped up. And in the meantime, we would love to hear what you think. We'd love to invite you to be part of the conversation. This is a conversation. It's not us just telling you how it is. It's us telling you what we think and asking for your input. So until next time, you guys are awesome. Stay odd. Thanks for checking out The Odd Show. You can follow Bruce on Twitter at bpags2 and Thomas at BlenderZen. Remember to rate and review us on iTunes and share us with your friends. Until next time, stay odd.